Thank you so much for hanging out with us. It's Tuesday night. We're about to go live for First Amendment Sports presentation of the WCAC Spectacular.
You are looking live.
Kevin, you will call Tim, and I think if
Not
we
this
is
Tim,
any
another Tim.
Brian, are you
Timmy?
looking on the making
We
sure
have
we got
Timmy sound
confirmation
effects
of
for later.
audio? I think we usually get it right the first time on Tuesdays anyway.
Timmy.
All right. Wrote a song about it. Want to hear it? Here it goes.
Ride with the mob, hamdulillah, check in with me.
I'd like to welcome everybody to Tuesday night. On behalf of First Amendment Sports, I'm Ken Meringolo. He's Kevin Ricca.
Happy to be here talking about the best conference in the nation, my friend.
He's Tim Strachan.
Arguably, it is. I mean, without a doubt, and the fact that we get to talk about it with other people watching, listening, who went to these schools, whose children go to these schools, or it's just a school in the area that you know and like to follow. That's why we do this. It's so much fun.
Going to many of the games and been on the sidelines of many a WCAC game in his time in his prime. Matt, the real deal Seal.
This is the big time. This year, there's something special in the air in D.C.
Oh, Seal's feeling it.
All right.
You know it.
Rounded out with Brian in the corner. Stabby coming all the way from Stabbyville. This is the WCAC Spectacular. Welcome. Again, I'm Ken Meringolo, and we do cover the greatest sports conference in the country.
No arguments.
And we are confronted with a regular diet of reasons why. So I thought, since this is our first WCAC Spectacular of the season, we would do a little bit of a run around of the action that was this week for the WCAC. You will be seeing us potentially at your school or alma mater throughout the season. We're going to be showing up to some places, certainly covering the action, but also loving every second of it because it's pretty freaking amazing.
I can't wait, man. I haven't been able to do this for 22 years. Haven't done Maryland games on the radio and not being able to be around and see this stuff.
You're a free agent now again, aren't you?
Yeah, now I get to go, man. I
we
get
locked
to go
him up to a long-term
Taking
contract.
it all in again, man. You know, it's something I missed for a long time. Looking so forward to getting back out there and seeing everybody again.
Not a bad time to pick to go all the way in the deep end. Depending on what poll you listen to or believe in, as many as 4 teams in the top 10 to 20 in the nation.
15.
Certainly in the top 10 to 15 or top 10 of the region. And without further ado, let's talk about what happened this weekend. We'll start with a Power 5 type scenario, and because I appreciate Kevin saying so, 5 teams decided to play each other every year, and one of those teams is my alma mater, Bishop McNamara. Have had a real rough run of it, and the program got a huge win for itself this weekend against Eastern after almost pulling one out in week 1. So I'm super proud of the Mustangs and representing again the greatest high school sports conference. And for the Maroon and Gold to be in the W column after a long time out of it.
Yes.
Well deserved.
I feel good about that.
Nice W with the shutout.
For sure. Shutout, indeed.
And then really after McNamara, it's really, you can go in any direction and you're moving right into national recognition territory as far as program is concerned. Now, I think ordinarily we might take a GC look, but we're gonna circle back to good counsel because we got a special guest coming on to talk a little bit about that with us.
Stay local to PG County with DeMatha.
Let's stay DeMatha. Let's
do
start
it, man.
there.
They got back on the winning track this week.
Absolutely.
They needed that.
The
They
Imatep
did.
Academy in Philadelphia. I think they took another road trip. This one went more their way than
Up in
last week.
Philadelphia, Imatep. That's right. A very good program, very good school. It was going to be a great test for them coming off that St. Thomas Aquinas loss. I mean, that's so embarrassing when you're on national TV. Look, I come on here and root for my Stags because I went there and I have pride in them, and I know they have pride in themselves. But I don't come on here every week and say they're like going to beat St. Thomas Aquinas every single weekend. So I know that they had some work to do, but they went up there to Imatep, did what they had to do. They looked like the team that we hope they are and that we think that they are. And when it comes down here in the D.C., it doesn't matter what your number is right before you when you go into that game.
Yeah.
All these games are a toss-up every time because that's how good the talent is in this league. And I know that Elijah Brooks is doing a great job of getting those guys back on track after that.
These games are the undercard to the upcoming main event that is the WCAC schedule. And granted, though, some of these teams are playing equally, main event caliber games, such as St. John's in their trip down south this past weekend.
Let's get to St. John's, but let's do purple real fast. Okay. Because depending on who you talk to, Todd Bradley.
Todd Bradley.
God,
depending on who you talk to.
We could all whisper about 100
How you doing, pal?
Right now.
Depending on who you talk to,
nothing but love.
You may have heard some very good things about Gonzaga. And listen, they're a good team. They're a good program. They have good players.
Solid foundation.
We had a purple guy sitting right here in this basement in Kevin Hogan a couple weeks ago.
That's right.
We're going to have some more purple.
Congratulations, Kevin, by the way.
Jeff Clay is coming on next week.
Back on next week to give us an insider's opinion.
Look into I Street.
There on I Street.
They look good in 2-0, right? 2-0 colors.
They're 2-0. They're combined 85-0 in their first two games, so their defense is pretty stout.
Well, yeah.
Those are good numbers.
Some would say that
that doesn't matter whether
decent.
they're playing teams that have numbers in front of them before they go into the game. That's not what this is about. They haven't played anybody that I think is
Gilman,
as good as they are
Baltimore, and Bishop Sullivan down in Richmond. They took a road trip down to Sullivan. Upcoming for Gonzaga, they have a home game, I believe, this week. Actually, I'm looking at my schedule against Don Bosco Prep, who happens to be the number 5 ranked team in the country right now.
Bam,
we're going to learn something.
Here's a bit of a test.
They're coming to I Street on Saturday afternoon.
There's 2 Don Boscos. Is that the one from Jersey or the one from Cali?
Pretty sure it said the one from Jersey, which is the one that's mysteriously appeared at number 5 in the USA Today rankings.
Check it out.
The cool thing about that is if you get out of that weekend and you just watch Gonzaga get that win.
That's good for the area, good for the conference.
God. I mean, I think purple. Let them play it out. Let them play it out. I know why people are kind of not giving Gonzaga as much as other teams because of who that specifically that other team is. But you still, if you're going to compare Gonzaga to St. John's all day long with the way that St. John's looking right now, that's going to be hard for Gonzaga. But the Gonzaga will take that game any day. But if you start comparing Gonzaga to other teams and other programs in this country and other conferences, guess what? They stand up just fine. And that to me is what I think is cool.
Sure, and I know Todd Bradley understands the nuances of Twitter and how reactions,
how social media works,
how it works, and you know what?
Todd.
He's a wise old soul,
he's a crafty old veteran.
I'm just telling him, I said nothing. I nothing for me to say about it. I do know that St. John's beat Gonzaga by 3 touchdowns twice last year, and I think it's gotten better. I'm going to leave it right there.
So what happened with St. John's?
Almost for a pretty big trophy too.
I'm just asking for a friend.
What happened to St. John's over the weekend?
And St. John's had a historic W in the program. They traveled down to Hoover, Alabama, to play the defending Alabama 7A state champs. They have a handful of 5 stars and a ton of 4 stars. A gorgeous facility to play at. It was a big time win for the St. John's Cadets, and it was
lopsided.
It was a 5 versus 6, and it was 42-7 at one point early in the fourth quarter, and it was definitely you saw the strength, the size, the speed of the Cadets, and the multiple. They're so good offensively. They run and throw the ball equally as good, but that defense, I'm telling you, when you watch this team on defense. The speed of the defense, the poise, it's unlike a high school football defense that I've seen. And as this offense comes along, yeah.
If Rakeem
this
any free agency,
this team right now is a top 5 national team that can play with anybody in the country at any given time.
I believe that to be true as well, and I believe going down there and losing Keelan in the first quarter. Now they had a lightning strike. Happen over and over again. They had a 3-hour lightning delay down there in Hoover. So St. John's had to cancel all their flights for the next day, come back and play the next morning at a different facility. This game was played at 2 different fields, gentlemen, on 2 different days. And
weather caused havoc, man. They caused havoc this past weekend.
My dad on staff, I was getting a million bellyache phone calls coming from the Alabama area. The 15-hour bus ride home after canceling all the flights.
That's old school barnstorming style.
But you know what? That's a little team bonding.
Absolutely.
You come together and you face adversity like that. You go through the 3-hour delay. You come back the next morning. You're on the road playing in Alabama against the 7A state champs. And there's about 7 guys on this roster at St. John's offered by Nick Saban, so they wanted to go down there and show out.
And they made a statement.
And they certainly did. They certainly did. It was an eye-opener nationwide, I believe, for the next step in the evolution of this program.
You never want to be on a bus that has a name like Gracie or Myrtle. You get on one of them old buses with a name you feel, and you're about to be on it for 15 hours.
Maud.
That's not where you want to be.
But as we're talking about,
let's call Tim. Let's get him in here.
As we're calling Tim, the thing that we were talking about before, though, as good as St. John's looks right now, has played the teams that they played, the teams they're about to play. When they have to line up against DeMatha here at home, who they have histories with, they got 2 safeties right now that are both committed. One to Alabama, one to Florida State. I mean, DeMarco Helms and Nick Cross. I mean, that's not something to just shake at when you're going into a home game in your league with those types of teams and that type of history behind it.
Yeah, and you hope to get Keelan Robinson back for a game like that.
Yeah.
Let's give this gentleman happens to be a
good council alum.
Good council 94. So we got 94 covered here in the conference.
94 covered all over the place, boys.
Bringing a guest caller for
Mystery guest
schools
for good council.
Good council football 2018.
Mystery guest.
Yeah.
Identify yourself.
Bringing it. Hey, Brian, make sure we're getting the caller in.
Someone came ready to rock and roll, man. It's football season.
Coming in hot.
Get us any kind of information we can from that.
That was a great intro.
What's up, Tim Reddy?
I gotta say.
Tim Reddy.
What's going on, everybody? Tim Reddy here, class of 1994. Good council when the school was in Wheaton.
Old school, baby.
Ball up in Olney. They had a hot one Friday night, but it didn't last on Friday. They had to roll on the Saturday against Archbishop Spalding.
The game that never was?
Back and forth. Whoop, go ahead.
The game that never was, huh?
The game that never was, I guess. But
That's
I got a
amazing.
box score that told me that they did end up playing. And,
Touchdowns were scored.
They were 70 total points, right?
it was 68. The final score was 34-34. That's what I have. And Spalding, brought it to Olney this past weekend. They kept taking the lead, and Good Counsel was fighting back and tying it up. And
apparently they brought it twice.
Had some lightning issues Friday night, like everybody else did in this region, and had to come back and play again on Saturday. And they went back and forth again. Good Counsel never could get the lead. Spalding was always in the lead. Good Counsel would answer. Spalding would come back. Get another touchdown pass from that quarterback, who had a big day for them. The kid threw 5 touchdown passes and 338 yards. And that's the second week in a row the Good Counsel seen a pretty good passing attack.
I mean, this is how good they are, though, Tim, because I was just up at Penn State University a week ago talking to Coach Franklin, Coach Galt, Coach Willis, and those guys were telling me that they had a camp this past summer where they had all the skill players in a 7-on-7 tournament. They invited entire teams, and they did the lineman challenge at one point. But in the top 8, there were 4 teams from this area. 2 of them were from DeMatha. It was an A team and a B team. One was Good Counsel, and one was Spalding. Spalding ended up winning the whole thing. But the fact is there was Coach Franklin talking to me, talking about how good the talent was from this area, with Good Counsel involved against Spalding, who they just played. So you got to imagine how good that game was, and just in general how good the talent is around here, including Good Counsel.
Well, we know that, being from this area, we know this is a talent-rich environment, the Washington, D.C. area for football and basketball, of course. So the recruiters are always going to come down here and try to get our best guys.
Nice.
Well, yeah, they're fighting for him now. And let me ask you this, Tim. I know you like the old-school slobber-knocking level of football, that style of play. As my previous workout partner in the off-season, I think we did about 15 down and outs and called it a day. It's a little bit different these days, and you can tell.
We did 5 push-ups, too.
I appreciate
No
you
way. I've
remembering
never
that.
seen Ricca do a push-up ever.
Remember that? I appreciate that. But these big, beefy dudes at Good Counsel, that O-line is massive, and they just line up, and they come right at you, don't they?
Well, they're pretty hardcore, and they're running a pro-style offense. They got the 2 backs, the quarterback, tight end, 2 receivers, and they like to run the football. But I'll tell you what, their right tackle, number 72, Landon Tengwall, this kid looks like Sir Gregor from Game of Thrones. He is a mountain. He is a 10th grade transfer from Pilates, 6'6", 315 pounds.
Yikes.
And is getting looked at from everybody in the country.
Well, the thing I left out, Tim, is in the lineman challenge. They said up at Penn State that Good Counsel was far and away better than any other team that was in the place.
I think they're 300 across the board on the line. They got a pretty good tight end too. Number 11, Cole Heflin, caught a nice drag route. They're still calling the drag play for Good Counsel. Tight end caught that. He's also pretty good off the line. I was impressed. They definitely like to run the football, but they can throw it too. In their first game,
Snell, right?
A lot of passing.
Quarterback.
Yeah, Cam and Cam, the Cam connection.
Yeah.
Cam Snell is the QB. Cam Hart is the receiver. But number 15, Ryan Swigert, he's a junior receiver for them, caught 2 touchdown catches this weekend, Friday and Saturday. So they have a couple weapons to go with. Their running back, they're using a tandem. Latrell Palmer, number 2, is Savion Wilkerson. Wilkerson was hurt this week, but he got a lot of time that first week against Marietta. So they've got a lot of weapons to go with. They also have a really tough kid out of Baltimore. Sean Aaron is their fullback, the 10th grader, number 27. And as we know in the pro style set, that fullback is a key position for them. So they got a really tough kid playing there.
That's the Coach Stefanelli base offense there. Line them up, smash mouth them until you can stop them, right?
Absolutely. And Malloy always ran that. Coach Malloy, the legendary coach, of course, always ran that, I formation. And he always had some great backs to work with, through the years, through Montgomery County, of course. That has continued on with good counsel, and they are certainly smash mouth. Their run defense ain't too bad either. They've only given up, I don't think they've given up 100 yards for the entire year so far. Now they've seen 2 tough passing attacks, and we're going to have to work on that coming into this week against Mount St. Joe's. But I think they really got some good things on both sides of the ball.
Well, we were just talking a little bit ago, though, about how, some of the teams in the area here are also branching out, playing good teams outside of the area. And good counsel went down and played Marietta, did a really good job down there. And because of their body of work so far, have been able to jump up 2 spots, again, depending on what poll you're looking at. But the USA Today Super Prep 25 go up to 19. I mean, that's got to feel great.
Yeah, it definitely does. The good council is doing a lot of good things. They've got 0 turnovers in both games.
Ooh.
The first game they had 11 penalties.
That's your stat of the season so far.
Right there.
Stat of the day.
Stat of the day.
Ding.
But they cut down on the penalties, too. They went from 11 in that first game, getting those jitters out, and they only had 6 this past week. Third down conversions went up as well. So, they're really kind of putting things together. The senior quarterback, Cam Snell, I was very impressed with him. This kid has fantastic feet. He knows how to move around. He keeps his eyes downfield. And he really knows how to deliver that football when he needs to. He really knows how to get something behind it.
Man, we're about to have some conversations in a few weeks when this league schedule starts in. Because I can feel
it's going to be ridiculous
right now.
All right, Tim,
let's
get you out on this question. Why will Good Counsel win the WCAC championship this season?
I think Good Counsel will win the WCAC this year because they really put together all the key positions to win on the football field. They have a senior quarterback that can deliver, that can make good plays. That's 4th down and 16 conversion for a touchdown that he made this weekend. It was a huge play for them. They've got a couple backs that they can go with. They're not relying on one guy. They have key position fullback set up. Their offensive line is huge and physical. On the other side of the ball, defensive end Jalen Green, number 10. He's a JMU commit. We also got middle linebacker Julio Amel, also a JMU recruit. So they really have some tough kids on both sides of the ball. The council's done a really good job with locating those guys and getting them to buy into the good council spirit and come to school there. So I think they've got the talent to do it, and I think they're calling the right plays.
All right, man. Well, we appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, but that's biased.
Yeah,
you went
via
there.
the
whatever.
Yeah, I know. I got to go back
Catholic
over.
hotline.
I got to sit here and I got to start talking about Soul J and Rakim and the boys, man.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I've already called out a couple of my boys.
I was trying to come in light this season.
Got you,
I've
Rock.
already called out my boys. That's all right.
Listen,
got those guys.
We appreciate you, buddy. We'll get you
All
over
right,
here,
guys,
and we'll see you out of games.
Awesome.
my man. Thank you, Tim.
All right, Tim.
All right, guys. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
There you go.
The way he answered the phone and then he says goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good evening.
Bye-bye. Yeah. He's
He made his point.
He got down to business, though.
Yeah,
and
he was ready.
That's
He
what
brought
our
it.
correspondents
He
are
was
going to do for
right.
each of these teams. And, this is going to be a lot of fun, man, going forward.
Let's reason and so I love just being able to get up close to watching these guys play, and I'm a Rakim guy all day, but the story doesn't begin and end there. They do things with exceptional athletes that
MJ Sherman's the number 5 player in the nation in his class, and he looks all of it. I mean, he is ready to rock and roll. He's got an NFL body. It's ridiculous. The 2 D tackles just stood out to me against an O-line down in Hoover. These guys have been playing with each other for like 15 years. They run the boys club ball up the same way, run the same stuff. And, man, Trey Williams and Taizé Johnson were in the backfield and throwing people around like rag dolls.
Wreaking
They really
havoc.
were. It was. I mean, you were getting attack defense, and you were getting just tremendous performances from every position. It was really, really enjoyable. That O-line, Coach Pat Ward's got our boys ready to rock and roll. Soul J had some time out there when he didn't. He made plays with his feet, and he is going to be a problem. He's going to be a dual threat issue in this league.
Yeah. How does he? So my question to you would be, because I like what Tim said about good counsel being having the senior quarterback, which is huge in the WCAC, and it's always been huge in the WCAC. By the time you get to the end of the season, God, more times than not over the years, one of the last two teams standing isn't a team that you thought was going to get there, but it's a senior quarterback.
But no matter what, he's a kid that's been there, done that.
Yeah.
You know, he's not going to get scared just because he's playing against St. John's with really good athletes. He's been playing against guys
That's
with
right.
really, teams with really good athletes for 4 years now.
So
that's what
does
helps
he overcome
you in that
that?
respect.
Yeah, well, and I think senior is the key in this league, and an experience. And, the guys at St. John's like Quentin Johnson, he's starting at safety, starting at corner, and he's also playing some wide receiver. One of the few guys that's one of those senior guys that you can do that with now, the way the game has changed and how not a lot of guys are playing both ways, kind of like we did. Some of us did. Sorry, T. I forgot who we were amongst here. Some guys just played QB and had perfect hair.
Yep.
Others, had to actually go do some other things. Yes.
Yes.
Well, but no, having the St. John's senior guys, I mean, look, man, Keelan goes out and Ron Cook.
Steamroller.
Guys, I'm telling you, he's one of those guys that's a little below the radar. He's got a handful of offers, but it's not from the right schools, because when people figure out what this kid's got and what he's made of, he stepped right in, and he was just gashing their defense. This is just, I love the kid, man. He sat there. He's one of those kids that competed with Keelan and said, we can do this together. I don't have to leave to go to another school so I can get the shine on me. I'd like to be part of this offense, get my touches, get my catches, fill in when necessary. And when Keelan goes down, who just got offered by Alabama, in the state of Alabama, everyone's looking around. They all knew what was up. Ron Cook. It was Ron Cook time. And also the sophomore running back, Coleman McDonald, had a few huge runs. So that's what has to happen. Seniors stepping up for seniors. That's a lot.
Well, what's incredible, too, about St. John's, not only who they've played already, but who are they coming up against, too, in the next 2 weeks?
I mean, Lordy, a top 10 Miami Central this week.
Ridiculous.
Number 1 team in the nation the next week. And Marietta, Georgia, the following week, who council just took care of down at their
IMG
place.
coming into the house. That's going to be
Going down to
on everybody's radar in the nation.
In Rock Creek Park, the number 1 team in the nation comes in to face the number 5 team in the nation here in 2 weeks. And, man, that's one of the biggest. But listen, Miami Central is the number 9 team in the country, and they got 4 stars
that was the
everywhere.
whole point.
This is why I'm going to answer the question that we talked about earlier, why I think St. John's wins. And I've said it again, and it has been a slogan, and I'm not trying to be that guy that's, yes, I'm biased, but iron sharpens iron. When you take on all comers, when you sit there and try and play when USA Today says you have the most competitive schedule in the nation, I think that's very attractive to these kids that want to compete at this level, that want to work this hard. And they say, I want to play that schedule. I want to do that. And that's why I think we have the upper hand.
People are watching, and even the beauty of organizational depth at a place like St. John's is you're working out against the best players all week long in practice, and that's on film. And when a guy goes down, you get a chance. That's on film. And your programs at the next level know that you've been taught to do it the right way. I mean, there's and the same thing in college. What I found awesome, I know Kenyon Drake, for example, was a low level guy. Some of the backup running backs at the best college programs in the country turn out to be some of the best running backs in the NFL. Why? Because they're freaking good. And if the backup running backs at St. John's, guess what? They're going to be freaking good because because the program at this point in time won't really, that's what they demand. And I would love to get get Pat in here one night talking about those guys up front, because some of these, when they go
Pat Ward, he's got to be in here.
Yeah, we got to talk to him because
it's been way too long for him not to.
We got to talk about the big guys, and I want all the.
Well, that's my favorite big guy in the world that I'm not related
he's
to.
the best,
and he's my brother, and he does such a great job. And then his brother Mike doing a great job.
And Mike too.
Sir, Mike,
who can grow probably one of the best beards that I'm aware of.
Hey, Dad, you do a great job too, man. I'm proud of you.
You mean that dad that won the WCAC back in, what was that,
89?
Yes.
The family atmosphere that's been created when you have guys like Pat Ward, who played for my dad, on the same sidelines, and they let goofballs like me come up and sit around and take care and watch practice and sit
I used
on
to
the
be a
sidelines
water
of the
boy
game,
for that team, man, alongside of you.
Guys like Pat Ward are the reason why guys root for St. John's who didn't go to St. John's. And I get that comment a lot.
Yeah.
So hats off.
It was also as a water
Shout
boy.
out, big brother.
It was also as a water boy in the St. John sidelines was the first time I actually spoke to Bill McGregor, though. That worked out pretty well for
That
me.
worked out well,
That's
right?
a great story, T. So what else do we have next on the agenda?
Did you know?
No, listen, it was great to have Tim Reddy on
Yes, it was.
again,
Yep.
class of '94 from Good Counsel. Just
Jeff
a
Clay
class-
next week.
Just a class guy. Jeff
Can I-
Clay next week. I spoke with Elijah Brooks, who's going to come on our show, be a guest with us.
Fantastic. That's what we need.
Looking forward to that, Coach.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a lot of these guys coming in and being guests. But I just want to make it clear: my man Matt Seal and I from St. John's. I graduated '94. Ken Meringolo, McNamara '94. DeMatha '94. Tim Reddy, Good Counsel '94, and Jeff Clay, our Gonzaga correspondent, Gonzaga '94. We've got all 5 teams on lockdown in the year of 1994.
We do.
and this has been a lifetime of
A
friendship,
lot of experience talking about it.
experience, and all the one thing that we do all agree on. We call it the league. There's a reason why we call it the league. And we can pick on each other, but don't come messing with us, because that's when the brothers get together. And we'll figure this thing out for you real quick. And like everyone else outside of the area is figuring out with this early schedule that's been happening, yeah, we're not messing around. We're not messing around, man.
It's the family where everyone you love is someone that you probably used to hate at some point, but you love them now.
Oh yeah. There's definitely range of emotions.
Hey, we
and all
talked
that.
about him earlier. Kevin Hogan was in this basement talking to us when we were doing our Redskins show, which is coming on next. And it was great to have him here. It was fun to have him as a Redskin. I was hoping we were going to be able to keep him, but congratulations to you, Kevin, for making it on with the Broncos. And, we all said that he was going to be doing things in this league, whether it was with the Redskins or not, but it was just great to have him around for that little bit of time.
We'll be tracking all WCAC athletes from high school to college to pro. It's getting easier and easier because you're seeing them on national television on Saturdays and Sundays. We'll be sure to give them their due. And I guess until next week, this was the WCAC Spectacular. This guy's Kevin Ricca.
That was fun. That was a lot of fun talking about these guys. And, 7 years from now, I got the feeling that a few of them might be at Redskins training camp or one of the other 31.
It's very possible.
I think it's
Very
a certain
possible.
possibility. And
Indeed.
there'll be more than a few, perhaps.
The real deal, Seal, a.k.a. Peach Weddy.
Just getting started, boys. It's
getting
going to be a
started.
great season.
Tim Strachan.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate you guys listening, watching. Tell your friends, tell your mom and dads.
Yes.
Tell everybody to start tuning in. We're going to
Is that your way of saying word
on a weekly basis.
Word to your mom?
And we are going to step it up. Our intros are going to be as exciting as old Good Counsel guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
We will-
old Tim Reddy's intro.
will work on it.
He set the bar.
We got to
did.
work on his outtake, but his intake
Yeah.
was pretty
I
spot
did
on.
hear a bye-bye. Yeah.
We got some. I know a lot of
that
people are going to
was
watch
great, Tim.
this
Thank you
on
very much, man. That was,
on
spot
delay,
on.
and you'll
Yeah.
see this later on this week. And we appreciate you giving us a click. We will be live on most weeks on Tuesdays, somewhere around 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, that was my fault tonight. Sorry.
No, this
You don't
was-
get perfect hair without taking the time
It's
to
got
make
to be
sure.
quality.
We're going to be on
I work
social
hard to
media.
get to that
Especially
position
with this
where-
humidity.
It's fair. It's amazing.
Plus, who's going to yell at a guy in a wheelchair for being late? I mean, none of you. I know that.
What monster
Scared-
you mean?
You're scared.
Do monsters like
I
that exist?
dare you to yell at me. No.
But until then, on behalf of First Amendment Sports, I'm Ken Meringolo, and this was the WCAC Spectacular.